natmila unchafa zara mulcha mamio kizan wciawa nacisiodzan mamia nezan zaini safidi ni ifankati mamio kizan sama atsapan lanzan raini jatutante Ifan metuk ifan aza sadi ifanu me Re efam kipen masku Mianja zau tutul zau ale kuyande Timis tad mamat cha fa fichava na matcha Zara kutiale Fichava na mami matir tilani Timba angalari na natere Fatutu chayani Tibe vinani Pulame Wciawana Tisiodza Mamia neza Wciawana tmila unchafa Zara mulcha Mamia kiza Wciawana Tisiodza Mamia neza Zani safidi Ni ifankadi Yeah Mamia kiza Atsapan lanzan raini jatutante Ifan metuk ifan aza sadi ifanu me Demyanga kun saf saf mana fana tuknyaf Timani nana durana Afalina tjuk chacha Tap timanja cha matuk fats kilala Chavana mami matitilani Tiura mini chafa manjakza Chayani, tibe vinani za
Yeah. It is your boy, Martial Arts Media. We are back again, man. That song that you heard playing in the background, man, that is Kimon all the way from Madagascar. And the name of that song is called Feels Like Honey. Today, like I told you all, man, I have a very, very special guest. Actually, two of them. It's the family that I told you guys. Can you flip the camera? Yes, sir. It's your boy, Martial Arts Media, man, and we are here for a great episode. So, check this out, man. Like I told y'all, today we are time traveling, literally. Okay, my guests are all the way from Zambia, living in the future while we are stuck in the past. Originally from Beacon, New York, they now have made Lusaka, Zambia, their home in search of a new American dream. So let's bridge the gap, cross some time zones, and give a big round of applause for Mr. and Mrs. Gabriel Elaine Smiley.
Thank you. We're really happy to be here. But I do have to start by saying we're not from Beacon. We live there, but I'm from Cambridge, Massachusetts originally.
And I'm from Brooklyn, New York.
Oh, okay.
That's where we moved from.
Yeah, but we decided to have our family, the Smiley families, in Beacon.
So that's where we ended up.
So that's where y'all ended up. Okay. My apologies for that. But
no, it's okay. We got to rep our cities, you know.
Hey, you got to put on for your city, right? So,
yes.
Before I start asking you guys some questions, like I said, I want to thank you all again for coming on the show. I really enjoyed the TV series. I really enjoyed it. And can you give us a little bit of a background about you guys real quick?
Sure. You start.
Well, you know, I guess we met in Brooklyn a long time ago, and we got married in Brooklyn and started our family in Brooklyn. And then together we bought a house in Beacon and moved there.
Because we realized that as much as we love Brooklyn, a lot of people were moving out of Brooklyn because of the cost of living. It was getting really expensive.
Yeah, we wanted to own something. We wanted some more space. So we really started this family life in this little perfect suburban town about an hour north of New York City. And
it became very progressive. And it was just like all these other people coming from different places coming to this small town.
So it was like a very cool and safe and totally fine life, like almost a picturesque life, but we both started feeling like for a while that there was something else out there, or there was like
just more for our family, you know, especially having kids of color, just like also being from a progressive town, but also with everything going on politically in the world at that time. What was that,
that was around 2020, 2021 when we started looking. And so we just kind of rolled the dice and started applying for jobs. I started applying for jobs in my field. And we didn't really have like a target destination, but we got an offer here in Lusaka, and we kind of just like went back and forth. I actually didn't want to go.
He didn't.
I didn't want to go at all.
Really?
And Elaine convinced me, and we just, you know, pulled the trigger.
I was like, it's time. We have so much more, and we're so blessed that if we had to come back, we could still come back. I mean, it'll probably be a little challenging after the first 2 years of the contract, but we can always come back. Because we loved our home, and he didn't want to leave it.
But I really didn't. We had everything we needed. It was like we weren't really struggling. I mean, we weren't rich, but it's like we were in a cool place.
We were smart.
But ultimately, we just took a risk, and you know, I think it turned out for the better.
And he listened to his wife, and we decided to leave what we thought was peaceful and discover something new.
Definitely. Well, fellas, listen to your wife out there. So, no, that's amazing though, and it was so much bravery, I think, to even just move abroad. Did you guys have that idea, like, okay, we don't want to live in the States no more, or it was just like this opportunity kind of fell in y'all lap, if you will?
No, we already knew we were leaving before the opportunity came up.
You know, we talk about this a lot, but again, it was harsh. You know, we were living in a very wonderful bubble, but the world was crumbling a bit. You know, we started to see like Black Lives Matter came out. Then there was a big January 6th situation, and just it was just COVID was happening. It really felt like the end of days, you know. And I felt like if we wanted to try something new and we wanted to do something different, why not explore? And it just so happened that we know a couple of people who were looking for families who were open to the idea of leaving America. And, you know, this was way before COVID, right? I think this was like 2019, more or less.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The show kind of like came together slowly. So we moved here before there was even a show.
Oh, okay.
And, you know,
No.
Well, before it was official, before it was on HBO. Yeah. So when they filmed us, before we left, like they filmed us in Beacon, that was like a skeleton crew that somebody was paying for out of their pocket.
They were like, there was like a small publishing house that had this wonderful idea.
So they were making that to pitch the show. So it wasn't until they filmed us leaving, but there was no show at that time.
Gotcha.
It wasn't until we arrived that by the time we arrived, the show had been greenlit, and then they filmed us kind of getting to know what it's like to live here.
Yeah, and it was all new, and it was all new to us. So they were capturing us in real time and real discovery.
Right.
And they also captured a lot of our family saying, okay, I know that y'all are leaving. I can't believe this is actually happening. And now we have this film crew watching us.
Yeah.
And we also got a chance, because when you started watching the show on September 5th, just to plug it, Coming from America, and you could stream it on Max.
We hadn't seen it yet.
We hadn't seen it. So we didn't really know what they were going to kind of like display of who we are as the Smiley family. They saw us leaving, they interviewed us, they interviewed our family in real time when we were packing and moving. And
they filmed a lot. Like they had a lot of footage. So we were like, are they going to show this particular party or this thing that we went to?
Or you know, like knowing how we're meeting different people and being surprised that Zambia doesn't look like what they've shown us on TV, or like this idea that Africa is not as cool as it can be. I felt like I was in like California black all day. It was like really, really cool.
Yeah, totally.
Really. I wish they would have showed more of that part, like the entertainment side, because well, all I saw was basically you guys moving there, getting accustomed, looking for jobs, and just really getting accustomed and stuff. But they never really showed, like you said, like, oh, it was like Hollywood. It was nice. It was beautiful. Like they showed that beautiful side, but they didn't show like it's actually
all
entertaining.
You can
I think the other families that went to Ghana, that was like a little more tied into their mission.
Yeah.
Like the family, the Kellys really wanted to be in comedy.
Yeah.
So they really captured that scene for them.
Yeah.
But for us, you know, they filmed us out to eat in some cool spots and like what it was like out there.
Yeah.
But I don't think a lot of that footage actually made it onto the show.
No. But what made it on the show was more or less that
Like the
you can
family dynamic.
actually do this. The family, again, just to circle back, we had good people who were like, I like you as a family. And I think that if we wanted to have this show, would you go to Africa? And that put the bug in our ear that, hey, we can have an international life, but we didn't hear from them for a while. So when they finally circled back to us, they were like, hey, we did get green light to have this show. We were like, yo, you put it in our ear that we could have a different life. So you want us to go to Ghana, but he got a job in Zambia. So we got to go where his job is.
Exactly. So basically the way it came together, somebody got in touch. They said, what is your family like? Send us some footage of your family routines, dinner time, bedtime. We sent it to them. They already knew that we were interested in going abroad, but there was no clarity. There was just ambiguity.
Right.
So we sent it to them. They liked it. They said, we'll get back to you. Maybe like a year later, they get back to us. And this is after I've already accepted the job to move to Zambia, not knowing about any show. Oh. This was way in the, they said, hey guys, we're really going for the show now. You want to move to Ghana? And we said, yo, we're actually leaving in 3 weeks to go to Zambia. And they said, oh, wow, let's send a film crew to film what it's like.
So they did it. And it's crazy because the day that they did it, we actually had our families coming over to kind of.
They were already on the way to say goodbye. They were on
their way to say goodbye. We were already moving our luggage.
So they caught it in the prime and they got to see everybody and all the packing.
And I think that's why a lot of people kind of felt really connected to us because we were actually out there. We took our dog.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I saw that, and it's almost sounded like it was divine in that way. Like you already accepted a job in Zambia, and then kind of things was coming together in that way.
Exactly.
What a blessing, right?
It was. Yeah. And I think, to be honest, because we already had a job lined up, and we weren't moving to like try to put something together on a whim, it might have been easier for us than for the other families because there's a lot of adjustment. Even when you got a job, there's a lot of things to adjust to. So we had the benefit of having colleagues and having our kids meet other friends. And
I'm not quite sure how much research they did, like
they seemed like they really got thrown into the fire even more than us.
We contacted people because growing up, and I'm very old school, it was like Northern Rhodesia, Southern Rhodesia. I didn't know it as Zambia or next to Zimbabwe. You just hear about Zimbabwe because of the conflict that America and Zimbabwe had in the past.
Right.
So you never really hear about Zambia.
I didn't know a thing about Zambia.
So we had to Google it. I had to look at it. And I was like, damn, American education. I was like, what is this?
I didn't even know where it was. I didn't know anything about the country.
But luckily we had connections that spoke to.
But even then, like from all the people, if you go online, there's very little about what it's like to live here as an American. It's very, if you go and research Ghana, you'll find so much. If you research Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, you'll find so much.
You know why?
For Zambia, you won't really find anything.
Why?
It's that propaganda.
I think the same reason why the reason why Gabriel never wants to leave. It is a kept secret. I think Zambia is a very smart world where if you wanted to have a different life in America, you can actually be a business entrepreneur. There's a lot of startups here because it's a developing country. They speak English. Everyone's, I think it's like 80% or 90% is Christian faith, but also
there's no political violence.
They've never had a war.
There's no disputed elections or stuff like that.
There's 76 tribes. They're all fairly.
Everybody gets along.
They're not like that type of people where they are battling. They were colonized, but they weren't.
It's a very safe place, and the people are very non-confrontational. They're not like there's not a lot of violence. There's not a lot of hostility.
Don't get me wrong. There are things that happen here. There's thefts that happen because it's a poorer country, but you find your community, and now there's so many Black and brown Americans that are also in Zambia that we've met since we've been here.
Some.
A good amount. I mean, we can go and maybe have at least 3 other Americans that.
There's a handful.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But there's a whole town. There's a whole town of Americans that we don't even hang out with. It's true.
For real. So you guys still haven't watched the show yet, right? Or have you?
No, we've seen it now.
We've seen everything. You could stream the whole thing.
But we saw it as you saw it. We saw it each week. It came out. We saw the next episode.
Yeah, on September 5th when it came out. We didn't have any glimpse of what was going to be.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because that was one of my questions. I was like, I wonder, did they actually have they seen the show yet? So, and it makes so much sense because me and Tyler, as we was watching, we was like, oh, this family, they are the most prepared. You guys, y'all took y'all dog. It looked like y'all did some type of research. It was like y'all was way more prepared versus, the Kellys or the Joneses or what have you. And it seemed like compared to them, like they was chasing the dream, and it was like y'all was more like creating. Y'all already was all established already, so you was just like, we just recreating what we have. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and a big piece of that is the job. The job really allowed us to have like a continuity where, yes, it's a whole lot of new stuff to learn and all these cultural differences, but at the end of the day, we still go to work. The kids go to school, and it's like it's almost like a gym. Like if you have that routine, like your life can't get that crazy because you already know that you're doing the same stuff every day.
Are you going to try to implement some kind of structure? So we wanted to have as much as the quality of life that we had in Beacon, New York with our children, but we wanted to also have it here. But you could be a remote person too. And I feel like that's where
the move, like,
if Americans and the youth, I think the youth really need to kind of travel more and kind of really know that you can have so much of a better life outside of America.
If anybody out there that's listening that has a remote job that would let them travel, I can't recommend it. If I got paid in US dollar terms, but I got to live out here, it would be like, you'd be like living like a millionaire,
Yeah. Oh, I believe that if that's the case. I saw a post and a guy we went to school with was saying some of the similar things. Like if I could relocate to a place like Ghana or what have you, I'd be living like a king off my US dollars or whatnot. So
it's crazy. I actually just met this guy that plays basketball. He's also from Brooklyn. And I just learned about him. He retired from the Army, so he has his Army pension. And I don't know how he got here in the first place, but once he visited and he saw how far his money went, his pension went.
His quality of life.
It's like, I'm not going to go back to Brooklyn and be broke. I could live so much different out here. So,
I think the benefit is that we've found a lot of veterans who have decided to go elsewhere. We went to the Philippines in July. We were blessed enough to kind of take that trip because we've never been to Asia, and we took kids, and we bumped into a lot of Americans as well who were having more.
I've learned that if you have an income that doesn't tie you to a particular place, whether that's from rental income or remote work or like a pension, then like, it's a big world. Like, why not explore for a year or two or more?
And a year or two is not going to hurt, and you can always go back.
But I will say, and I know this is one of the questions, certain things here are very affordable, but certain things are very, very expensive. So it's not like everything is cheap.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
it's like random, like mayonnaise can be like, why is mayonnaise this expensive?
Yeah.
Our cars, like the car that we bought would probably cost like $4,000 in the US, but it costs like $7,000 here because of it has to be imported from Japan on a boat and then driven from Tanzania across a bunch of borders. Yeah. And then you got to pay some kind of duties or fees that are like way more than you would expect.
Yeah.
So certain things are like twice as much as they should be.
Yeah.
Right.
I agree.
I kind of noticed that too, because on one of the subjects you guys was talking about when y'all went grocery shopping in the store, and you was like, it's we was paying a little bit more than what we was paying in the U.S. for food. Or I was like,
wouldn't think that. You would think you would come to a developing nation and like a lot of stuff is really cheap. So you would think when you go out to get groceries or things in stores,
no, but it's much more expensive. And I think with that,
there's not a good supply chain.
It's not a good supply chain, and it's also good and bad, but also you're paying for a smaller vendor where in America, everything is mass produced, and
like Walmart got it figured out. So they're going to be able to give you the best prices every day. But this time, like the bus bringing in the avocados might have broke down, and now you got to pay twice as much because you're paying for the next bus for the food.
Or gas is extremely high. So it's reflected in the food.
Right.
The way that they export it and import it, you'll definitely see how expensive it is.
Almost everything is imported. And a great example is like cell phones. Like I try to get a cell phone here, and they don't do it on like you don't do it with a plan. You just buy the phone, and the cell phone is like $400 more than it would be in the US or something like crazy stuff. And it's old. It's like 5 years old.
So you do bring your own electronics. That's
right. Okay. I definitely need to know that. So. So how did you like kind of educate yourself about Zambia once when you all knew? Like, where did you go to? Like, what did you look up, if you will?
So that's a great question. So when I first came here, I really needed to kind of understand the culture. And even though it seemed very similar in adapting, it was kind of scary because when you get out, seeing a massive amount of Black people walk to you, like there's like just nothing but Black people walking to you. It's kind of like you kind of get a little bit like overwhelmed how many people are in the street at one point, and you start thinking, why are you thinking this way? And so culturally, I think I learned a lot about the way that us as Americans have been taught, and especially Black and brown people. I feel freer here. Like I can rock my hair in a flat twist and not even question it. But women wear wigs here too, and no one questioned that. So I feel like
you kind of learn as you go. But before we even got here, we didn't have a lot of resources. So we didn't know. We didn't know what to get, what we were going to get into. I think the most informative, we talked to some lady who had been in like a volunteer job here. And she was an older woman. She was like in her 50s.
She went to Peace Corps.
She was in the Peace Corps, and she was back in Maryland. And we talked to her for like an hour, and she was just really, really positive. She was like, I'm trying anything I can to get back there. And that was like the most enlightening conversation we had. But we kind of had to take a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And I apologize. It's raining.
It's raining. Do you hear the rain?
So
let me close the window.
It's like a downpour.
No, it's okay. It's really not affecting the audio, but it's all good. So I'll ask my next question. So what were some unexpected challenges that you all faced upon arrival?
Can you say that one more time, Marshall?
Yeah. I'm sorry. I said, what are some unexpected challenges that you faced upon arrival, and how did you address them?
Yeah, well, I'll answer. Elaine, I'm sure, has some other answers when she comes back. But for me, one of the strangest things that I faced is like I had to get used to how to talk to people here because they speak English, but there's a big cultural difference in how communication happens. For example, like if I'm texting my mechanic about my car, I'll just say, hey, is the car ready? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I might send that text. And when I first got here, I would do the same thing. And then the person would respond by saying, good morning, sir. How are you? And I would feel very obnoxious, like I didn't even greet them. Because here, greeting is very polite and you actually have to do it. So it took me a while to realize, like, if you're not doing the right, if you're not following the right procedure in terms of communication, people actually won't give you the greatest service. So you have to kind of like adjust your American communication style and always greet people, even if it's like a BS conversation. You still say, "Oh, good afternoon. How are you today?"
Right.
And then they say, "I'm well. How are you?" And then you can go, "Okay, where's my car?" You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm sorry, I got to check in.
So you said, what are some of the biggest adjustments since you got here?
There's not a lot of sidewalks. I really get frustrated because I'm a walker and I feel like there's not a lot of sidewalks. I also feel that there's not enough urban planning. Like there should be more parks and outdoorsy stuff.
It's not a place that's really designed in a thoughtful way. It kind of like seems like it just sprung up organically. So people build their house here, build their house there, but they didn't say, well, this will be a great place to put a big space for people to just chill on a nice day. Or this would be a nice place to have a very prominent sidewalk so you can walk safely from here to
and
there.
that's only Zambia, because when we had the privilege of actually going to Kenya, and when we went to Kenya, we went to Nairobi.
Way more parks and sidewalks.
It's a vibe. It felt like Queens and Brooklyn ate each other with a little bit of
different. It's totally different.
Totally different vibe. Everybody's cool. It's more young and hip, but you have urban planning there. They have parks. They're thoughtful about the way that they put their plants. So I think that's my thing. You know, if you have to be mindful of where you want to go when you do move abroad, because if you want more greenery, if you want more hiking, you really need to kind of center yourself on knowing where you want to go and going there.
Yeah, and this is a big city. You know, I think there's 3 million people that live here, but I think like at least half of them live in like they live in real high density areas. So they might not really care about sidewalks, but you need a car here. Like there's no real good public transportation. All they got is these buses that are really dangerous.
Yes.
And it's not a walkable city. It's not really a bikeable city.
No.
There's not that many motorbikes, even though all over Africa, everywhere else, there's motorbikes.
Yeah, this place doesn't even have motorbikes. There's not a lot of people.
So you really need a car. That's one thing we.
Wow. That's so. It sounds like a really, really developing nation, kind of like how you mentioned earlier.
It is, and sometimes you'll be walking and somebody will be on a bike and they'll have a like 5 crates of chicken stacked behind their bike and they're riding down the street, and you see stuff like that all the time.
Or like bread, like a lot of bread. But you know, the thing about it is that at the end of it all, it's still a beautiful place. And the reason why people are investing here, it's because everything you want that you do socially, they do socially here too. They just need more of a variety and a better scale. So people can come and you can see that it's developing, but it's developing in a way where you can make it your own.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity for that reason because things haven't been fully figured out. Like there's not enough gyms, there's not enough recreational places, there's not enough nice restaurants. So there's a lot of opportunity to open those things. And we've met a lot of people that are like really trying to get some of those things happening, which is cool.
Yeah, definitely. I noticed that when I was watching it, when you all in the driving episode, when you guys was driving, learning how to drive, and you was like, there's no stoplights, and I was like, and when you was walking to get it for looking for a job, Tyler, she was like, I know that girl walking in them hills, gone girl, you know what I'm saying? She really showed that appreciation.
They were looking at me.
And she was like, that's an American woman right there walking in the hills, going looking for a job. But I was saying at that time that would be perfect for developers to come over there and start developing the infrastructure, really investing in developing the infrastructure around there for real.
It really is a long way to go. And the funny thing is they actually have stoplights all over the place, but they're off. They never got power. So it's like it's there, but it's not doing anything.
Like it doesn't make sense. So now I think they're starting to add like solar because we had a huge drought. And I think that's another thing.
Yeah.
Look how much, I was looking at your studio. You have twinkle lights, your lights are on, and you're like vibing. You have all this power.
We get 3 hours of power a day here.
Really?
The average Zambian is 3 hours of power a day because power is rationed by the government. So you have to install like a crazy solar setup, or you just be in the dark with no fridge, no lights, no hot water, none of that stuff.
And that happens when a drought occurs. And so that's the huge adjustment as well, where you're used to like, hey, I can put my AC on, cool my room out. If it's hot, it's like, wait a minute. Sometimes you're organizing your life to be home when that power is on, so you can actually feel comfortable using the power in the house,
Right.
Sometimes there's no water at all. Like the tap will just run dry. There'll be no notice. It's like you go to wash your hands and the water will just slowly fade. And then you're like,
what the hell?
There's no more water.
Now we have to have like water in the shed and extra waters in the shed for anything just in case.
Yeah. I did see that trade-off. Like I was telling people it was a trade-off because one of the Kelly families, she was explaining like how you got to have extra water. It was a rolling blackout, so they had water for food, water for washing their hands, and then wasteful water, if you will. So, but that's
you got to be ready for that. If that's something that really bothers you, then you're in for trouble because it's totally out of your control. It's not like you can pay more. Like you can buy certain things that get your house kitted up, but it doesn't. The power might go out.
But you know what, Marshall? I'm going to say this. I'm much more of a survivalist now because I wanted when we left America. I'm also one of these weird, I have my own thing.
She's like a prepper.
I'm a prepper. So my thing is, I always have my go pack. But now I even prep harder because I'm like, if we don't have any water, we got to have extra water. If we don't have this, we have to have charcoal. We have to make sure we have lights. We have solar. If the zombies were to get us,
right.
We have a wall that at least we can protect ourselves. We have.
Oh, they'd be over that wall like this.
No, they would. They might be. The point is, they're not going to be walking down somebody's sidewalk.
It's a
going
deterrent,
into someone's
though.
house quickly.
No, we wouldn't. If the zombies came, we wouldn't last long because we're close to a high density area that got to have like.
That's why I said we got to keep gas. We got to keep gas always in the house. So we got to go. But Africa has taught me, like, think about everything that's happened with America and all the national disasters and from the earthquakes to the fires and whatnot. If these people knew how to have a little bit more of a survival where they shouldn't be building with wood anymore, it should be concrete. People really need to have water and have some kind of security or safety, but they're not prepared if the lights goes out for 2 or 3 days.
I talked to my father. He's in his late 70s. He was like, I can't remember a time in my entire life when I didn't have water for more than like a day. Like maybe they are doing some construction or something happened. The water was off for a day. They probably got a notice ahead of time. Yeah. But here it's like you might not have water for 3-4 days, and you have no idea when it's coming. Yeah. You have to either buy some like a tank full of water to put in your tank, or go to somebody else's place to wash your hands or something like that.
That's crazy.
It sounds like a very humbling experience for us Americans because, like you said, we got the lights running, bottled water,
But to be honest, it gave me some perspective because I think most of the world probably lives more similar to Zambia than to America.
I can
so
believe
like
that.
places in India, all over Africa,
Even the Philippines that we noticed.
So I think like Americans can be really spoiled, even if they don't have a lot. Like the basics is pretty much always there for them, unless it's a dire circumstance.
I would 100% agree with that. Like we are so spoiled. We are so spoiled here as Americans. I would definitely agree with that. But with that being said, so what in what ways did you guys kind of like start engaging with the locals to like foster a community with them?
Say it one more time.
I was saying, in what way did you guys engage with your local community to foster a mutual relationship?
Yeah, so I don't know. Like again, my school has a bunch of Zambians that work there, a bunch of Zambians that go there. But I don't know if I would really call them the local community because it's an expensive school. So the people that go there, the kids, their families make money. Like
it's an international school.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah,
you know, through one of the things that I've done is playing basketball. Like I have a group of friends that I play basketball with, which includes a few Americans and then a few people from all over the world, but a handful of Zambians as well. So getting to know them. And then the teaching staff at my school, they're professionals, but they're probably not quite as rich as the students that go there.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a really close friend at my school that I hang with, and he kind of helps me navigate certain things and figure out like how to get stuff done or what's the best way to approach this problem or that problem.
Amazing.
Yeah. And I'm a likable person, so people just tend to like me. And I've been able to make friends that are just neighbors and other parents, and I've gotten to know a lot of wonderful Zambian women here and international community here.
But the school is definitely probably like the biggest source of our social connections. And it's probably not the greatest representation of like what the average Zambian is like. So we might not have that many friends that are typical Zambians. They're all on the like.
I think all of the Zambians that we know are fairly middle class.
Yeah.
And the ones that are not upper to middle class, you will know them because they're either your server or your assistant or your helper or your barber or your salonist.
Exactly.
And they're like, but they're in a different. They're not like hanging out. They're working. They're always working. It's a working culture.
There's a really big class divide where it's like if you're in a service industry, you're working as much as you can.
Yeah.
And if you have a good job, then you're employing somebody in the service industry to work for you. So it's a bigger divide here than it is in the U.S. between middle class and lower class.
I understand. Okay, that's amazing though. So, at what aspect of Zambian culture? So what aspect of Zambian culture have you embraced, and how have they influenced your family's daily lives?
I'm just chuckling because we were just practicing this when we had a friend over who we were talking about this interview, and she was like, "Well, what questions are they going to ask you?"
Yeah.
And then Elaine said, "Why don't we practice one?" And this is the one we practice this one.
Yeah. And so Gabriel, you could say what you said.
So I think generally it's like a really welcoming culture. I often compare it to Canada, where like you could bump into somebody here and they would say, "Oh, excuse me." You know what I mean? Like people are very polite and very helpful. If your car were to break down, then even people that have no business trying to help you because they don't have the skills to actually help you, they would stop and say, "Well, how can I help you?
Yeah.
Like, what can I do to make your day a little better?" And they expect that from you as well. So people there's no like arguments really. When you drive here, nobody ever cuts you off.
That's not true.
No.
And we said that I think it's a different situation because what I've learned and what I've seen here is that it's very male driven and it's very misogynist. So even if you are
I tell you the truth.
a man, even if you're a man, you have much more of I can do this because I'm a man. And if you're a white man or if you're an international man or a middle class to rich man, you have even more say. But
Zambians aren't going around fighting other Zambians either. Like,
they're not.
They're very polite.
It's masculine, misogynistic a little bit.
There definitely is like a privilege. I remember when we first got here, we had this colleague that lived in the same yard as us. What's her name? Tawana's mother.
Yes.
Clarada.
Yeah.
And she was our friend. She kind of showed us the ropes. And she told me, because I was walking home from school, and she was like, "Yo, they're really gonna ask you for money. They're gonna like try to be your friend. Like when you walk home, by the time you get home, you'll have 5 new friends that are gonna have a conversation with you and say, "Oh, sir, before you go, can you help me get some soap?"
And even your friend noticed that when he walked with you, how many people came up to you once.
Who was that?
Was it Malombo that noticed that? How many people?
I think it was Colorado, but definitely, like as a white person here, people assume you have money, and they're not that shy that they won't ask for a little help here and there.
They're also a little passive aggressive.
So Elaine has
I have a totally different view because I'm a woman of color. I also feel like there is a situation where you're supposed to be a gentleman, and I feel like they don't have to follow those gentleman rules because they feel like I'm a man by hitting the chest type of thing. So,
and it's really crazy because when you see people hustling, like it's usually the woman that's working, carrying the baby, selling items, and the men, they don't seem to have to work as hard here.
They don't. And if they don't, and the thing is that it's a service industry. You can have a helper, and if you are a male, you can have anyone you want. You can have a chef. You can have this. There's a privilege of maleness that other men value here.
I mean, women have chefs and drivers.
Yeah, they do. But
Elaine's saying all this, but she got a driver herself. So
the point is, men have it nice here, and he can't deny it.
Men have it nice. I cannot deny it. There's a privilege. Also, Americans have it nice, and also American women, whether they're black or white, generally are in a pretty good shape here.
Yeah. Okay. I sure wanted to know how was that dynamic as far as Gabe, with you being a white man, were they more prejudiced towards you guys, or being an interracial couple? Did y'all? Because how America can be, interracial couple. You be like, dude, get over it. You know what I mean? So did you experience?
At our school, there's a lot of interracial families. There's like
very mixed.
So many, and
that's beautiful.
A lot of them are like white European guys that are in their 50s or 60s that might have started their second family down here or something like that. So that's pretty common, which is really awkward for us, but we see it all over the place.
Because I'm older than him. Yeah. And and not only that, but it's not a come up. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like a black woman or a woman of color. When I met Gabriel, I didn't really even think he was white or Jewish. I still can't even say it out loud because I'm like, I don't really know.
I didn't think so neither, for the record.
He tans very well.
I'll say this, like it's way less of a race-based society here. There's definitely differences and people acknowledge differences, but it's not like you're divided by race the way you are in America.
There's even a lot of Chinese and Zambians because it's become such an international place, Zambia specifically, that it's not like other African countries where they're like doing negatives, And
it makes you realize, sorry, the dog was flipping out. It makes you realize that in America, you learn that race defines you. It defines who you're going to be friends with. Yeah. It defines what kind of job you might have.
But it's more class. It's more class and money here.
Yeah. So it's not. It doesn't define you as much, and you'll find that like when we play basketball, it's not really a big deal who's from where or this and that. Right. And also, almost everybody here is black. So we're in like an international bubble, but I would say across the country is probably like 98% black or something like that. So it's just a totally different dynamic, which is. It's been good to learn and good to kind of
we don't really have any issues, but I definitely feel like
I will say this though, like sometimes when I'm in like I'm waiting in like if I have to go to the hospital or something.
Oh please, this is his theory.
No, white people always get called last. Like
really?
I don't know if it's out of spite or if it's just like we're assuming this guy doesn't have anywhere to go. Maybe he's got some money. Like if you're waiting in a group, I'm probably gonna be the last one to be called, no matter what time I came in.
Yeah.
So that's his.
No, exactly. It's true. And it's not rude. It's just like I think it's like this guy could wait. It's not that urgent. Like let these other guys go in.
It's more community. It's more community.
It's a very community-driven place here.
I feel that.
That's for sure.
That's the kind of hierarchy. It's like if you're not from the community, you can kind of wait. We got to get our people in first, type, if you will, type. But I don't know.
Let these guys go get their stuff, and then we'll get to you later.
Yeah.
So, what advice would you guys give families considering a similar move so what advice would you give or would you offer to family considering a similar move regarding cultural preparation and humility?
I would say, for us, it's hard to say there was a specific thing you should do because we didn't really know. So really just be open-minded, but don't be too
I think you need to have some money saved. That's first and foremost. You need to have a little bit of runaway money. You know what I mean? You need to have a backup money where
try to do it with a job. Unless
yeah, if you try to do it with a job, it would be really great.
Yeah.
Also, you have to also understand who you are and who you want to be in this new place. You know, if you say, hey, I want to be this type of person, like Gabriel said, I want to read more when we move. And he not only have we decided to have more of a traveling life and our kids know everything, but reading has become much more impactful, where everybody's reading, everybody's trying to learn and have a new book every week.
That's
so
good.
I feel like that is, you have to know
some goals of
what you want to accomplish once you do this big step.
I would say really be open-minded. Like, there's so many small differences that you could let bother you, or that could just really become frustrating from financial stuff to just communication styles.
People are not really clear. Like, you feel like they don't comprehend.
People like some people are way less reliable than you would expect for their position. But you can't let those little things bother you, because on the whole, if you weigh everything out, it's definitely a positive move. And I would also say, don't be afraid. Like, if you're interested, I mean, I don't think the U.S. is going anywhere. I don't know what's going on these days, but you can always come back, you know?
Yeah. No, I feel that. You guys look like I was so happy out there too. I wanted to say that you definitely look like I was enjoying life. How did you guys prepare your kids for this conversation? Like, what kind of conversation did you all have to really prep them for this?
Yeah,
that's a great question. So they didn't want to go.
They didn't, and we did try to prepare them. We said, hey, listen, you know, Daddy has this opportunity, and we can all go and have a different life for a few years,
explore something new.
And they were like, no, we love our house, we love our town, we love our school. No, I can't believe you're doing this. But then we said we would never put you in danger. We would never make you feel that you're not going to have that quality of life. And they were really young at the time, but they were open. And because we used to travel a lot over the weekends and do small trips in America, I think they were open to the idea of having a bigger trip. And I feel like if you also have a family, you're not going to pick up one day and say, hey, do this. You're going to slowly start incorporating this in your life, where you travel different places that y'all haven't ever been. And then eventually you can do a big trip.
Yeah, and even though the kids couldn't really understand it, my mentality was that there's kind of a gift that we can give them to show them that it's a big world out there. So even if we go back to America after a few years, they have that core experience where they say, well, yeah, I remember I was living over there. It was no problem. I met all these people.
This, and, you know, they become much more open.
And all the people that I've met in my life that grew up somewhere else or spent a few years overseas or this and that, they always, even if it was like a challenge, they always looked at it fondly or as like a period of growth in their life.
Yeah.
So I thought it was like a blessing to have that opportunity to give our kids that, no matter how long we stay. But I will say this, we're starting trying to figure out how long will we stay, because I don't want to leave once I got here, but Elaine is ready for like a new adventure. So
I'm an adventurous. So I'm like, we are blessed that we got a chance to travel different places. So we went to Kenya since we moved here. Where else have we traveled?
We went to South Africa,
Tanzania. I went to Mauritius. He went to Rwanda.
We went to the Philippines.
So we've got a chance to
Malawi.
open up. We went to Malawi. So it's
before we got here, we had never went on any international trips. You know, we went to Montreal once, and I drove. And we went to Jamaica once for like 3 days or something like that.
No, a week.
Something like that. But we
twice.
Here we're able to. First of all, the countries are close to each other,
right?
And it's like it's way more doable. It's way more doable.
Yeah, it's still expensive, but it's doable, and you can see that having a different life, not only just being here, he doesn't want to leave, but you can have so much more, because as you get older and grow, you're going to like things differently. You're going to realize, hey, I need to be by the water, or I need to be by the mountains. Right. And you have to find these things that's going to start humbling your life, because you can't always do the things that you're used to doing.
Do you guys have beaches? Or in St. Louis, it's a river. You guys are on the river, right?
Yeah. We have the Mississippi and the Missouri River, and then we got a few man-made beach. We have Osage Beach, but they're not actual beaches, if you will. They're just
so for us, lakes. We both grew up in New York and right outside of Boston, so we are close to the ocean.
Okay.
So both of us are like ocean people, and our kids, we would always go to beach trips with the kids. So that's one big adjustment. Here, you're thousands of miles.
And it's landlocked.
And if you were to find like a really beautiful beach somewhere, you can't even go in the water. Yeah, because there might be crocodiles in there.
Oh, snaps, yeah. Oh, what was that one trip, the first trip that you guys went when, Elaine, you brought your mother, and then it was It was someplace
With
where
the-
you like it was safe to go in the water because there wasn't no sharks or crocodile. Y'all went for some holiday.
Oh, that
think-
was when we went to
Oh, in Zanzibar.
Zanzibar.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh man, that's a beautiful place. So that's another country
That's another country
in the
that
coast
was-
off of Tanzania.
Yeah.
It's one of the most beautiful places I've ever
Oh,
been.
it looked
was
it looked so beautiful. Like I was like, oh,
Oh, it's like the Caribbean times a million, and it's
Yeah.
culturally very different.
And they have a reggae fest in August.
Okay.
In Zanzibar. My mom came and she was like, "Oh, we should have stayed until August." And I was like, "Oh,
I would say
man."
anybody that's able to, that's one of the most craziest places in the world.
Beautiful.
They got this town called Stone Town that's hundreds of years old with these narrow alleys.
Very
and
like
it's-
Islamic, beautiful.
it's
just
the influences
gorgeous.
are so different from
Even the guy, what's his name?
both.
What's the guy who's the singer? He was even.
Freddie Mercury was
Freddie
born
Mercury was
from
born
the guy
there.
from Queen.
yeah, from
Yeah.
Queens.
But
for-
it's just a totally different vibe. But the beaches are just gorgeous. Like I had never been to the Indian Ocean before. You know, I grew up on the Atlantic Ocean, which is cold and raw and rough
Dark.
and dark. The Indian Ocean is clear and calm, and they got different fish in there. It's something else.
Beautiful.
Man, it looked beautiful. And that was kind of my next question too, kind of segue. And Elaine, your mother, she's been back 3 times. I think I've seen in one of the interviews now. And Gabe, your mother, she's only came back once so far.
Yeah.
Have you all convinced them to come back, and have you convinced your mother to come and live with you, Elaine, or no?
You know, you're such a good, smart man because you obviously know that I love my mom and I want her to kind of come and live with me. She's actually going to come in April.
Nice.
Yeah, so we want her to. She wants to stay a month or 2, and I would like for her to have that opportunity because she has this beautiful home in Brooklyn that she can sell, but she still worries about a mortgage. And if she has this opportunity, she can sell and make a good amount of money off of it, and still have her own life of traveling because now she's into traveling.
For older people that are looking for a place to retire, if they have equity in their home, that's another thing that we would recommend. Like, think about it. You could really, like, if you have, you know, maybe you have $100,000 of equity in your home or something,
Yeah.
that will go so far out here.
Really?
You can have a home that you own with a lot of extra money to get some help or
Yeah.
whatever you
You
need.
sell it, you could buy some land, you could even get a business on your land. There's so many things that you can have. So she's basically
We're working
gonna
on
come,
her.
and Gabriel's parents
So
are
my,
gonna come.
my parents were actually supposed to come in August, but my father, he was at a baseball game at Fenway Park in Boston, and a baseball hit him in the eye,
Oh.
and he had to have a bunch of surgeries.
Yeah.
So now he's just finally back ready where he could travel. So they're also going to come around the same
Yeah.
time.
Okay.
And then I have a best friend in LA, and you know what's going on in LA right now.
Yeah.
And you know, so she's like, "Hey, I can get out." And she was one of the people who helped connect us to a couple of the producers who were interested in the show or doing the show. So
we're actually thinking about trying to open a business, or Elaine is thinking about it. I'll talk about her business.
yeah,
where
okay.
Trying to convince Americans that have a little bit of wealth or some equity in their house or something like that. Like, yo, if you're ready for a big change, we could help you get something out here. You could live in a really nice place. You, like Elaine said, you could have like basically a mini farm on your land and have people they'll help you with your farm as long as you give them some of the vegetables, so you could have fresh food every day.
Yeah,
and you could do it for a fraction of what you would spend on an apartment somewhere in the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, this is why Khaleesi's in Kenya right now. I mean, you've heard that Khaleesi decided
Absolutely.
to just we were wondering why she was in Africa for
Zambia.
she came to Zambia, but she was in Africa for a minute, and we were wondering why she's like. Every time I saw her feed, she was like all over the place, and I was like, "Oh snap, she's in Zambia! Oh snap, she's here!" And now, you know, she just then started highlighting the fact that she got a farm, and I think smart people realize if you have a little bit of equity, if you have some kind of money, come to Africa, you will have a totally different, wonderful life.
Definitely. So like some of our friends, we haven't really, we're just getting started trying to convince people, but first step is getting people to visit so they can see
Right.
how nice the life can be.
Yeah.
And then, maybe somebody has some retirement, so who knows what it could be, but just trying to convince them that this is a better place to plan for your future than in the US.
And then looking at investors, because also we're all aging and you want to age cool, you want to have a community, you want to be with your peers. And I think also that's been a good thing, looking at aging communities outside of America or even in America, if you can get on with your people, but using it outside of America can really have some bonuses.
Yeah, nobody wants to get old and struggle. Like, you want to get old and have something.
You'll have more for your retirement. Like you can retire comfortably at 50 with 300,000 If you're retiring in
well.
America, they say like you really need to have 2 million in retirement for you to really feel comfortable with aging. So you got to really think about aging communities as we all get older too.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's so smart for you guys to possibly start a business because Elaine, you are in real estate. You have a couple of real estate property or what have you, and
Yeah.
then Gabe, you actually started a business where you selling bags and totes, correct?
Yeah.
Indeed. So we Elaine bought me a bag for Father's Day. I think my first year. I'm just trying to get my brand in the shirt. You know,
Check the merch
Right there.
So she brought me a bag, and it was this beautiful handmade leather bag, and the leather was so soft, and it was like under $200 for that bag. It was like something would have cost $400 or $500 in the U.S.
But you saw that there were so many.
But there were flaws. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
They didn't have the concept of like make it perfect. So the zippers were all different colors and certain.
It wasn't done with thought or mindfulness.
There was skill, but there wasn't a lot. There wasn't like a goal. So we said, well, why don't we just try to like
play around?
Yeah, and so what we did is started making leather products, and I actually have one right here. If you don't mind, I plug my stuff.
Absolutely. That's what you're here for.
We're making like all sorts of leather products. This isn't a duffel bag, but it's like a laptop sleeve that you can put your laptop in.
Okay.
But everything has like a little shitenge lining, which is
the fabric that
is the cloth that it's ubiquitous out here. So everybody wears these kind of cloths. So we just thought to make really high quality products, but put the shitenge on the inside. And see how
just kind of like finesse it, and I think that he's been doing really well. He was in a magazine, and we're
slowly. We're really trying to get in some shops in the U.S.
Point. It's like we're able. What did they say? Shoot your shot.
Yeah.
We're trying to shoot our shot, and I feel like you have to try different things that you wouldn't have tried in America because there was so much more risk.
Yeah, and it costs the barrier to entry in America is like 10 times higher.
Exactly.
So to get a shop in America, the rent is going to be so much more, and the workers and the equipment. But you can do it here at a reasonable amount. So we figured, why not give it a shot?
Why not try?
And the other thing I have to give credit to Zambians that there's so many skilled Zambians that instead of going to college and grad school, they've just worked on their skills. So the tailors might have been sewing stuff for 20 years by the time you meet them, and they're really, really highly skilled. If you want to buy some furniture, you don't have to go into a shop. You could just drive on down certain regions of the town, and people have like these beautiful couches and bookshelves that they make themselves that they're selling. So there are a lot of really skilled people here, and we thought to maybe support them, support their businesses, and also try to create something that Americans might like and see where it goes.
And I think that's how we're also blending into the community as well. You know, like when he referenced, you're either working or employing or working with or seeing them in your community walking up and down. But I think being able to kind of have these little businesses that we're learning about here or learning who we are with different entrepreneurship, I think it's been really helpful.
It is. I didn't really have an entrepreneurial spirit in the US because it's hard. It's really hard to get in and it's competitive. But here your money goes a lot further, and there's a lot of ideas that they just haven't fully realized here, that there is an opportunity that in the US it's already sewn up. Like you're not gonna have an opportunity in that field.
Definitely. It's already saturated. And I remember in 2019, that's when Ghana had started the blacks, if you will, where they were saying come back to America, and they was asking all Americans. They was like, hey, bring your American skills, your American ideas to these developing nations. And I'm literally listening to the proof of what you're telling me. It's like, hey, this is the same bag that we can do in America, but the barrier of entry is so ridiculously high to where I can do it here and still thrive, man. So it's very inspirational.
And I think that there are like just exactly like you said, like the level of skill is here, but the vision, Americans have a different vision because we've seen things pushed to completion, and we've seen what a really nice gym might look like.
But also, I think we're also visionaries, and I think Americans do have a certain kind of work ethics that most countries don't have. Whether or not it was pushed on us,
right? We didn't have a choice,
or whether or not we have just become so creative with all of the creative things that we have implemented
they call
here.
it the Protestant work ethic, which is like the fairy tale that they tell of America, that if you work hard, so people work. But it's true. If you bring that work ethic and marry it to the skill that you find in like the people that have developed their skills here,
you can be a very wealthy person.
And you can make really, really cool, creative, high quality stuff.
And have better quality of life.
I would agree. My friend Lyndall, he's from South Africa, and he was saying when he comes to America and go back home, he tells his people in his tribe, he say, look, Americans work. They work 40 hours a week, dude, 8 hours a day. He said they work. And he was like, you know. So don't sleep on the American hustle, man. They're not lazy at
Yeah,
all.
definitely, and they have a different attitude towards work. Like
We follow up. We want to follow up.
Most people take a lot of in America. Even if you hate your job, you still do a decent job. Like most people, at least have some pride in their work, even at jobs they don't like. But here, it's like even people that like their jobs
are very lax.
Sometimes they're like, whatever, I'll just go home for the day.
Yeah, it's so I think having this work ethic, knowing that you can actually make a dream happen because you're a hustler in regards to the soul that you have to push through. I think that's a superpower here, you know?
To Zambian's credit, through the school, we've met people with really cool jobs and interesting hustles. And we met this one family that owns this peer-to-peer lending company. Where basically there's not a lot of money to go around. So if you're a Zambian and you need to remodel your home, you can't really go to a bank, right? There's no bank that's going to lend you at a reasonable rate. So they lend at small amounts at rates less than a bank would lend. And then they also allow investors to help them lend. So we actually gave them some money that they lent to like 100 different people asking for money. And then when they get paid back, we get paid back.
So it becomes a very interesting, and also this specific company that we were working with, Lupia, they also highlighted women, and they really wanted
female entrepreneurs.
They wanted that, and I feel like because women here, specifically in Zambia,
they hustle harder.
They hustle very hard, and I think it's because they had a really big gender push at one point where they really wanted the women to kind of take the lead. And because of that, there was like 20 to 25, even 30 years of women excelling. So now we see a little bit of the male decline in regards to them needing that they need to be pushed now.
But the whole point is that there are people with really interesting ideas here that are making, like these Lupia people, they're doing really well. They're creative. They're supporting the community. And there are really cool ideas that come out of here. But Americans do bring this little
swag
and hustle and like just like we know what
would work.
We know what the top quality is. So we're not going to settle for like something that's okay.
Right.
Whereas other people from other areas, they might say, this is pretty good. Let's just stop at it now.
Okay. Right. Okay. That's amazing. So let me ask you guys a question also. So Elaine, with you being from Jamaica or having Jamaican heritage, was it easier for you to adjust to the Zambia cuisine? And same for you, Gabe. Was it easier for you guys to adjust to the cuisine here?
Really quickly, no, not really. I feel like I still haven't adjusted 100%. I think I felt more comfortable in Zanzibar because it was more of an island vibe and more things that I'm used to with the curries and the spices and the fruits that I give. So I think that the island African countries seem more Caribbean than where I'm at.
Yeah, and I would say that Zambian cuisine is not. It's pretty basic. I'm not trying to insult Zambians, but it's not like a super fiery or spicy cuisine.
No, it's tomatoes.
It's like a lot of tomato stews, a lot of chicken. They love steak here, and they have very, very delicious steak here.
Yeah, the beef is very good.
But most of the places we go to eat, they serve like pizza and pasta and stuff like that.
Really?
So it's like when we go to people's houses, they might serve us the traditional shima, which is like a starch.
It's kind of like a fufu, it's like their version.
Okay. It's like a starch staple that most Zambians eat. But 9 times out of 10, we're pretty much eating either Elaine's cooking some delicious food, which she does all the time, or we're going out to eat at like a place that might be familiar to most Americans. Although I will say the Chinese food here is off the hook. The Chinese food here is very delicious.
Oh, for real? I challenge you, is it better than St. Louis Chinese food? Give everybody.
I would love to try St. Louis food, man.
Oh man,
what, you guys got ribs? Don't you guys have ribs?
Oh man, yeah, we got St. Louis ribs. Now, me personally, my ribs is fire. Like, oh my god.
Oh.
Tell my friend
you come
Tyler.
out here. They don't know how to do ribs out here.
Oh,
if you buy ribs, they're like, it's just like they don't.
We'll
do
invite
it
you. You come and we'll do a pop up. You'll do some cook up. You'll do some cooks for a brunch here.
My friend came and he was like, I want to get the ribs. We went to the steakhouse and I tried to tell him they don't know how to do ribs like Americans. He said, no, they're gonna do fine. It's in a fancy place. And the ribs are so hard and thick and it's like,
I would love to try St. Louis ribs.
I heard St. Louis has really good ribs.
Oh man, I'm definitely gonna we're gonna have to schedule a trip because I'll come down there and I'll make some ribs. We can kick it or whatnot. My friend Tyler,
it might be a business opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be a great opportunity. We actually planning to go to Jamaica very soon. So my friend Tyler, she wanted to invite you all out because she has some real estate out there and a couple of hotels. So I think it'll be a great trip, a great opportunity for all of us to get together and fellowship out. international, if you will, you know. So yeah.
You guys are welcome anytime.
Yeah, just let us know.
We'll hook
you know,
up.
you'll stay in contact. We'll DM.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
we want to thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate it, and your questions were awesome. It's a great show. We started watching since we got invited, seeing all the other stuff you got going on. So
we like it.
Yeah, we really appreciate it, and we want to thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys taking the time out for being on. It was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed this. I feel like I made 2 new friends. So you know,
Well, thank you.
yeah, let's keep the fellowship going. We got to get going because we got another show coming on though. But any closing remarks before we leave? Anything that you? My last final question, I guess, is if you had to do it all over again, would you? And what would be different?
I would do it all over again.
I would definitely do it all over again. Maybe save up a little more money before we came in, so we could hit the ground running a little faster. But other than that, I think I would do it the same way.
Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much. You guys have a great evening because it's the nighttime, right? So
yes, it's nighttime now.
Absolutely.
And have a good day. And again, thank you for having us.
Thank you. You all have a great one, man. We'll talk to you all soon. Okay.
Bye-bye now.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, gang, and that is another great episode of Cartoons and Cuts. I am your host, Mr. Martial Arts Media. That was the Smiley family coming from America. If you want to catch this episode, I will drop the link on my Facebook page. That is TEREZ Marshall. Follow me on Martial Arts Network. We about to get out of here soon. And finally, my last point that I wanted to make was you can catch this show on HBO Max. It's called Coming from America, about 3 families that uprooted their lives in America and moved to Africa. Thank you so much. Y'all have a great day, man. I'm your boy, Mr. Martial Arts Media.